Well, good morning again. This is Hero. Today is overcast. It's trying to rain, but the main thing is it's finally cool. So to get started on my pines, I have to have long sleeves and gloves. Gloves mainly for the sap. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one this morning and get this going. Okay, one of the things I've been saying is the difficulty of having to teach pine. But anyway, for something like this, the candle's up like that. I'm gonna cut it low. And there's a bud here, so we're gonna be saving that little bud to fill in. And as we get over here, we'll cut. And then there's a cluster in here. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, this one, I could cut it right here, but I'm thinking it's better to cut down here. See how tight it becomes, right? So a lot of times I'll bypass. There is a cluster of weaker buds in here, and that's part of this overall plan. To finish, we start to work on these smaller, weaker ones that will get strong, if that makes sense. That's the difficulty of the teaching of the pine. Some of the things we do is contrary to what it seems like the norm. Like this one, I'll just cut it to here and work with the little buds that's down here. So okay, what I just did was I opened it up so that I could have pruned it here, but I wanted to open this up so get sunlight in there. So I went a little bit deeper than I normally would have. And sometimes you got to do that. So a lot of times we're not just doing one thing, multiple, and that's where the difficulty runs in. So there was a different reasoning for pruning. That was to get the sunlight in, versus most of what I'm doing is about maintenance and development of finer branching. Oh, now we're starting to get the wind. And when you have the wind in a mic, it does some really funny things. You probably hear funny sounds, but I'm gonna hurry up and get this done before the wind gets really heavy. So I wanted to do this inside or at least in my carport, but the other thing is so wide it wouldn't fit through the gate, and I would have to go all the way around moving this very heavy thing on my hand truck to get it to the studio. And then once I got done, I had to go through the whole process. So I'm trying to shoot it outside, but the weather is changing, the wind is blowing, so it's getting somewhat difficult. Well, you might end up seeing this in two parts. If the weather gets really bad, I'll just shut down and then finish up later. But you could start to see that it has a great shape, but I have to be careful not to overdo it, because come summer you'll burn the trunk if I remove too much. Also, I think it's a matter of style. Some people want to show you everything very clearly in terms of the trunk. And I like to make it so that you know you could see it, but it parts its glimpses. So I think that one is not so much right or wrong. It's personal preference and or style. Also, I see so many people make pom-poms. They come out here and they just put a ball, which is okay if you like that style, but I'm not into that. I thought that pom-poms were European, but I read a book written in I think 1940s about the Japanese and the Japanese gardeners, how they developed that style. So I guess we take credit for it, but that's just not me. This one, I'm going to cut it deep so that I get sunlight, because there's plenty to take that place. So we don't want to leave any bald spots, but we also want to get sunlight in here, because we want these inner buds to get stronger. That's how you keep it tight. Yeah, the wind is starting to blow, so that I know I'm gonna pick it up in my mic. So I'm gonna put this camera away for now, and I go ahead and finish up. Okay, so as I wrap this up, let's evaluate the tree. Root flare, we have it. And then as we go up, we have good movement and excellent taper. So this is one of my prizes. I started this from 1 gallon, probably 43 years ago. And it took a while. It came, and now I think it's one of my best. This is going to look good in either a small Japanese garden or somebody with a nice big patio. Put this in a nice pot, and then it'll be very striking. And you know, the way some of this has been described from a non-bonsai person is you're not buying a plant, you're buying a sculptural piece. And I think this is an example of one. Anyway, it's getting cold, it's wet, I think it's going to start to rain, so I'm going to wrap this up and say goodbye. I'll see you again in another chapter. So this was a Japanese black pine. In the past, I have contemplated removing the whole lower branch. The one on the left, while it's planted in the ground, it will drag the ground anyway. But I was thinking about that. Well, that started out as a sacrifice branch, and it's doing its job. So I thought, okay, should I take it off? But I don't know, I kind of like it. So anyway, those are choices that can be made by whoever ends up owning this. One thing about me, anything here is for sale. But this might cost you a few dollars though. It is one of the best I think I ever created in terms of mid-size or very large bonsai. Okay, I'll see you again.